Good afternoon, good evening. What's up, party people and magic makers? Destiny here on this magical Monday. Every Monday, I come at you with a new video about something mindset related. And I do my best to kind of keep the theme going for the month. And so this month, we are talking about being stuck in the mud. If you watched last week's video, I was getting into some of the reasons why we get stuck in the mud. And, I realized there's so many other reasons. And so if you find any of the reasons below, like it's something that you relate to, I would love for you to comment below. If you know somebody who is struggling with one of the things I'm talking about, share this video with them so we can support them in getting out of that. Because I really do believe that everything that we are meant to do in this world is so important. We gotta do this. Like it's what we're supposed to do, so let's get to it. All right, so what are some of the reasons why we get stuck in the mud? So as I mentioned last week, sometimes we get stuck because it's how we need to slow down, especially if you are a doer or somebody that gains a lot of pride and a feeling of accomplishment by getting stuff done. Being stuck in the mud sometimes is the only way to go whoa and slow us down. And notice I said us, right? Okay, now what are some of the other ways that this happens? Well, sometimes we feel like we're stuck in the mud because we are going after a certain level of perfection that doesn't really exist. And so we start to feel really stuck with whatever it is that we are working on. Perfectionism is so lethal and people just don't realize it. And it inherently has a built-in comparison. And so it works with one of the other things that creates the stuck in the mud, which is the not good enough. The two, perfection and not good enough, there's comparison going on. Perfection as compared to what? Not good enough as compared to what? Right? As soon as there's a comparison coming in, man, we are beating ourselves up and we are striving for something that may not necessarily exist, right? Like there's a way to do a really awesome good job and striving for excellence. And then there's the perfectionism where we like keep nitpicking at things and nitpicking at things and nitpicking at things so much so that then we don't put anything out because we're like, it's just not there yet. It's just not ready. And all of these excuses that come up for the perfectionism and the not good enough. Okay, another thing that tends to happen along with the perfectionism and not good enough, they're sort of like this Venn diagram that works together, is also judgment, right? So, maybe as kids, we got judged for things that we did, and then as an adult, we're carrying on that judgment. So somebody says something, somebody does something, we see somebody doing these things, and we then take it on as our own. And when we don't respond the way the person did, or when we don't know how to respond because we actually haven't been through the situation before, we start to judge ourselves and beat ourselves up. And that can get us really stuck in things, right? And again, with the perfectionism, the not enough, and the judgment, they work together. Like it slows us down, and it's the comparison. Like, oh, but this person over here is doing that, and this person over there is doing that, and how come I can't do it? Here's the thing that I've noticed, and it's a big deal, is just because somebody else did it a certain way and it worked for them does not mean it's going to work for you, because they're not you. You have a flow and a rhythm and a vibe that's uniquely yours. And so you've got to do it the way that works for you, right? And so sometimes that's taking little tiny small bites. Sometimes that's taking the whole chunk and going for it, right? And I remember when we used to go swimming, I was born and raised in Hawaii, so we would go to the beach a lot. And it was always funny to us because my brothers and I, we would walk into the water about knee deep, and then a wave would come and we would just dive the rest of the way in. And it was freaking cold and we'd be shivering, but we got it done, right? Like we were like all drenched in water and we were good. Then we were watching some of the tourists who would walk in a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, and then they would never go all the way in because it was too cold. Each time that they walked in and getting a little bit deeper into the water, they were just getting cold again. And we would just tell them, just dive in, just go and do it. And that goes away really fast, but they wouldn't listen, right? And so like this is what we do to ourselves when we're striving for the perfectionism, the not enough, and the judgment. instead is we're walking into the water really, really slowly, and we're like, oh, what about change, what about this, but they're doing this, but they're doing that. And instead of just diving in completely as our own and just figuring it out once we get in there, it gets lost and muddled in translation. And so yes, maybe take the class, yes, maybe see what that looks like, but don't like beat yourself up when it doesn't work for you. Now, it might give you ideas on how you can make it work for you, and that's great. Take what works and toss the rest, and seriously toss the rest, okay? Another thing that happens when we're stuck in the mud is overwhelm. I see this so many times. Somebody is striving to take on this really, really big project, this really huge project, and instead of doing it like a little chunk at a time, they try to do the whole thing, and they get overwhelmed, and then they sit there and they do nothing because it's too big of a project for them, right? And so you got to watch this, because sometimes it'll work for you to just power through it and work on it for like an entire day and do all the things, and other times it just won't. And so you've got to really identify, like, hey, what's going to support me here? Is it doing, like for me, 5 letters a day? And just getting that done. Now, let's be honest, a good chunk of the time I did more than 5 because I was kind of on a roll, but like I had to start somewhere where we're going, nope, all I need to do is 5 a day. Especially because I'm a doer. When I don't do something, that really just gets me all kind of like, well, now I'm going to beat myself up about it, and we don't want to do that. Okay, now let's look at some of the fears that keep us stuck. So I talked about the fear of not being enough. There's also the fear of failure and the fear of success. So if we are afraid that the outcome of the thing that we're doing is going to lead us to more success or failure, we will stop doing it and we will stay stuck in the mud, because that feels more comfortable to us than actually doing the thing, right? And there's a bullshit story going on that's telling us, oh, but if I do this and I'm successful, they might want more from me. Or if I do this and I fail, then they're not going to love me. All bullshit. All complete and total bullshit. Okay, now some of the other things that pop up when we're stuck in the mud, and I recently did this, so I was like, oh, something's going on, right? And like, this is a great example of just how to be mindful and how to check in with yourself. So I wound up creating this, what I thought was an amazing package and a great deal, but nobody was buying it. And when I would mention it, they'd be like, oh, and they were buying into the smaller package, and I was like, am I not priced right? What's going on? No, that wasn't it at all. What I was doing was devaluing myself, and so energetically I wasn't offering this beautiful package with any type of like happiness or joy or excitement. I was just like, well, here's the thing, and here's what nobody wants to like buy that, right? So we got to check in, like, are we devaluing ourselves? Are we stuck because we are not satisfied and we are not happy with where we are pricing things, with the thing that we're offering? And that's not saying offer more and make it bigger. That's just saying check in. Check in with yourself and see where you stand with what it is that you are doing. The other thing I noticed with the devaluing is sometimes we keep ourselves stuck because we're like, ooh, I don't know if anybody's going to like this. I don't know why they're going to listen to me. I don't know if they're even going to listen to what I have to say because of this, and this in my past. Look, if you have conquered something, if you have broken through something, even if you have broken through it over and over and over and over again, people will listen to you because they want to know how. And FYI, that's super relatable. Okay, so really, like, take a look at all of the reasons why you might be feeling like you're stuck, and like, is it any of these? Is it any of them? Because if it is, we need to clean that shit out, right? Because you got some important work to do. It's work that you were put on this earth to do and to complete. So we need you to do that, right? So if it's perfectionism, not enough, judgment, overwhelm, fear of failure or success, or you're devaluing yourself and that's why you're stuck in the mud and not doing the thing, like, we need to clear that, because you need to be doing the thing. And what I've noticed and what I found out is the thing that we're feeling the most belly twitches and butterflies in our belly going on is the thing that we're supposed to do. And that's the thing that we're like, I don't know if I can do it. No, you must do it. You must. This is the reason why you are here, and it will help open other people up. All right? So I'd love to know from you which one of these is the thing for you that stops you and gets you stuck in the mud. Because then we can go from there and then we can work on it, all right? Okay, so until next week, that was a lot, I know, but I know you can handle it. All right, peace.